Welcome to the Patreon page for the Ken Johnson YouTube channel. So this is kind of a director's cut where I give you a behind the scenes view of what's going on, what happened with our videos, what was really happening, little backstories, things of that nature. I hope you enjoy it, so stick around.
Is this GoPro knockoff junk? Well,
The first thing I wanted to bring up is the theme music that I use. It's called Burlesque Heartbreak. And so what I do is I always have a little bit of a intro kind of thing where a teaser more or less. And then I do the music with a video asking you to share and all that. I've been told by some people that this is not a right format to use, so I would love to hear what you think about it. Please let me know.
well, in a video a while back, the deep sea fishing video, I talked about the fact that I've got some new cameras, and one of them is a GoPro. So my wife bought me a GoPro 10, and I really appreciate it, and that's going to help us out a lot. Then I also bought this, and it said on the box it's a HAFGYKIO IP68, and then you open it up and the thing says VIRAN. I don't even know what this is. I don't think they know what it is. There's some things about this that I don't like, and there's some things we need to test out. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you my Amazon video that I did where I did an unboxing. And so you'll see that. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about some issues, and then we'll do some testing.
So, all right, there's a little bit of backstory here. Everybody knows Amazon Prime Day, and Prime Day really is 2 days out of a week out of the year. And so I have been looking for a budget camera. And the reason why I've been looking for a budget camera is that I need a camera that I can put actually behind me or to the side of me on what they call gimbal. Um, it's a device, it's a boom more or less, that I can move it out to the side somewhere and gives another angle. And so what we say in the YouTube world, that is like a B clip, where I can take a image, superimpose it. So I'd have a video running where I'm talking one, like maybe this is the video and I'm talking, and then I can superimpose an image. And so I've been looking at another camera system that it's way more expensive. It's way more detailed. There'll be a lot more wiring and everything else involved. I would say it's going to be about $375 on the cheap end. That's if I get it on sale. I get all the other equipment on sale and I do most of the work myself. $375 on the cheap end for me to install it to my boat, the Sneaky Squatch. However, if I do that, then I don't have a camera for my kayak. And so I would like to have a camera that I can use in the meantime until I get something going that I could use both on the Sneaky Squatch and also on my Pelican Catch 100 Classic. And so I have been trying to find a cheap, budget friendly action camera that is waterproof, that I can hook into a battery system that would allow me to film pretty much all day long without having to change batteries. I know how to do that. There is a way around that, and that I don't spend out hundreds of dollars. And so as you're watching Patreon now, or watching this video on Patreon, you've already become a member with Patreon, so you understand that YouTube does not pay us enough money to produce content, and we need help. And if I had about 100,000 subscribers, I could use companies to help fund this, but I don't. And until I get to that stage, I'm really going to need help. And so you're helping me right now, and this video is part of the exchange that I promised you if you would help me, I would do these director's cuts. So I just kind of want to give you the input of what was going on with the camera. But what's funny about it is my wife, she was telling me, she said, "Oh, yeah, go ahead and order your camera." But what the little sneaky devil didn't tell me was she was buying me a GoPro behind my back. And so she knew what I was wanting. So her advice was good, but I ended up getting a GoPro 10 out of it. So the Hero 10 Black. And that's awesome, and you'll see that in a future video. But for this purposes, this HAFGYKIO is supposed to be a contender for a budget camera that I can use for doing my B-roll footage. So that's the reason why I wanted to step in here with it. Alright, so this is an unboxing of my HAFGYKIO camera. So here we go. On the side tells you what it is. That's waterproof. Then it says IP68. I don't know if that's mall number or what, and it says all what's got going on. Comes in a really nice case. And here's all the equipment and everything with it unzipped. But I do want to mention, look where it says VIRAN, VIRAN on the camera. So it's not saying HAFGYKIO, it's saying VIRAN. This camera here is 2 inches. To put things in a size perspective, here is a lighter, a cheapo big lighter that I have, and the lighter is actually bigger than the camera, or longer than the camera is. On the side is a waterproof plug-in. This is what keeps it waterproof. Here's the inside where you put the micro SD card. It can hold 128 gigabytes, which is more than what my other camera has. But look, it has a micro SD. In this day and time, why couldn't you have a USB-C? It does have a place where you can put it to a tripod or whatever. But I will note that if you'll look, you won't see anywhere that you can put a additional battery or install additional battery. This is because it has an internal battery only, and it uses loop recording, which means once you've used up that card, it'll start erasing over what you recorded. And if you run out of battery power, it takes a good hour and a half to charge the battery, which that makes it pointless as an action camera for you to use for stuff like YouTube or any type of activity where you might be out all day on the water or in the woods. The instructions are super sparse and written in mice type. It does come with a remote control, but the remote control is not waterproof, so that's totally useless. On the front of the camera, you'll see right above the buttons there is a light, which is kind of neat. I think I paid like 40 bucks for this on Amazon Prime Week. It's already doubled in price. I would say this is about a $20 camera, maybe a $30 camera max.
really closer to 14 because it doesn't have a battery. I can't change out the batteries. If I could change out the batteries, it'd be worth it. But I just don't see the value in it.
So, with that light, that really was evidently that's a IR light. I also wanted to mention that if you look at the VIRAN logo and look at the box and everything, it's very similar to GoPro. GoPro uses those little boxes under the letters that VIRAN had. Their container looks very similar to GoPro. Everything that they were doing was similar to GoPro except for the bottom. And that's what really freaked me out. GoPro has metal little things that pop down that allows you to use it for a harness. And VIRAN definitely, or HAFGYKIO, or whoever's doing it, they miss the mark there definitely. But there are going to be some other issues at play. But that's one of the issues that made it very difficult because it didn't come with a case. And so yeah, that was troublesome, but because then I couldn't use it for like a spare camera if I had like my niece or a friend or somebody that I said, hey, look, put on this camera and give me some of your point of view uh fishing content. I couldn't do that. I could only put it on a movable camera system. So that was definitely a problem there. And we'll go back to the video now.
But I just don't see the value in it. As you saw, one of the things I don't like is the loop recording. So basically, if you don't have a big enough card, then it'll just re-record over it. I don't like that. This right here, you have an internal battery. I don't like that. I mean, really, what company that is doing action cameras has a built-in battery? I mean, if you do any type of content creation, you're going through 2, 3, 4 batteries a day if you're trying your best to get the best videos out there. Minimum 2 batteries. Very minimum. I don't know of any video I've ever done with my HAFGYKIO that didn't take at least 2 batteries. So I don't know why you can't get a battery for this and replace the battery. I do know it's super small, so I mean, the battery must take up at least half, if not almost all, of this camera. So that's crazy. It takes an hour and a half to charge this bad boy up. So let's do some testing. I'm gonna run out to a local boat dock. I've got some homemade lures I wanted to try out anyway. So we're going to test it out. It's getting about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. And so that means that we got a little bit of daylight, and then it's going to be getting dark. And I want to see what daylight looks like. I want to see what dark looks like. I want to see resolution at 4K. The default is 2.7K, I think is what they put down, which is weird. So 2K is like their mid, and then 180. So we'll try out different modes and see what they look like. I also want to see what the audio looks like. I normally do at 1080 when I'm doing my outdoor stuff. If I'm doing anything else, I'm using my cell phone, I normally do 4K. So we're going to see how that works. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but we'll try the different functions, see what dark looks like, see what day looks like, see what audio looks like, and then I'll be back at the end of this video to give you my final analysis. Will this work?
So yeah, The reason why I didn't know the exact time of what it was, and you'll see there's a difference between time I stated and the time I said it was. My wife decided to go with some friends to watch a movie, and so I was left by myself, and I decided I really want to test out the camera and want to test out in low light conditions, because low light conditions is the death of video footage. And so again, I keep referring back to this other camera system. This other camera system, they do have a nighttime filming that is supposed to be ideal. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'd hate to spend $375 and be garbage, but I wanted to see what this one had. I wanted to see what it could do. GoPro, they're really not known for really good nighttime video footage, but I wanted to see how this would work, this HAFGYKIO VIRAN thing. But again, it was just a test. It was spur of the moment. In all reality, it was probably 5 o'clock, 5:30. I thought it was later than that. But the problem is in Florida during daylight savings or daylight time, you have it'll be like 8, 9 o'clock at night before it gets dark. And so you really don't know. And I'd done a full day of mediations and everything else, because if you don't know, I'm a professional mediator. That's my main job. I had a bunch of other things going. And then my wife, she was getting ready and she's wanting me to look at her outfit and look, because she's going with her friends. And so by the time she left, I knew the movie was supposed to be sometime around 7 o'clock, but I forgot that she said that they were going to lunch first, or going to supper first. Supper's Southern for what people outside the South call dinner. Anyway, so anyway, they was going to supper, and then they was going to do the movie. Movie was around 7 o'clock, 7:30, and she left out around 5 something. She left a little early. She always leaves early, and I forgot that as well. So I was thinking it was closer to 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and you know, also it was kind of overcast, which was also messing things up a little bit for me. And I was thinking, oh, it's later than what I really think it is. No, it wasn't. I just didn't look at a clock. Well, I am beyond mad right now, because I'm having to use this like I am a regular phone or something other. In fact, I don't have a holder. I don't have my harness, anything that this fits into. The only thing I could do is put this on a tripod, and that's it. So I'm very upset with this phone, or with this camera. So this is the video at 4K, 60 frames per second, and it's roughly 7 o'clock in the evening. This is at 2.7K frames per second. Again, roughly 7 o'clock in the evening, Central Time. This is 1080p at 60 frames per second, roughly 7 o'clock in the evening, Central Time. Alright, this is 1080p at 30 frames per second. And this is again roughly 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So there is a boat ramp that I do like to do my videos from. It generally does not have a lot of people if I go in the middle of the week. Unfortunately, this was a Friday night. And so there was a bunch of drunks. And there's a gazebo over to the side. I rarely show it, but there's always somebody over there at the gazebo usually. And it's far enough away I don't have to deal with too much too much noise. But in this case, the guy had a guitar and was very, very, very loud. And so what was happening is that he was singing songs that are copyrighted. And if you don't know anything about YouTube, they will demonetize you and take down your channel if you do not have the proper permissions to play copyrighted music, even if somebody is singing it. And so that's where the problem came in. And then later on, during the this taping, there was all sorts of idiots that were coming out causing problems. For instance, one guy, he had a car. I don't know if he knew the people or he was having a bad day, but whatever. But he spun out in the parking lot, slinging rocks all over people's cars and was so loud it was unreal. And so that was a real problem for me. And so definitely not something that it wasn't good. It wasn't conducive to proper taping. And what I would do is I would look at my watch, or actually not my watch, but my clock on my phone, and then I would give the approximate times and speeds and all that. Uh, there's not really much to tell in this, so I'll skip ahead on some of this. But I think what's important is that as I went to the lower speeds, you actually saw better light. Or not lower speeds, but lower settings. You saw better light. You saw better image quality. So 2.K was good. Then you go to 1080p at 60 frames per minute. It's really good compared to all the other. It admittedly, it's still garbage. So then we go through all this testing stuff, and I won't bore you with all this, but one of the things about video footage, and also with cameras in general, if you do cinematic is like 20 something frames per minute is cinematic, because the eyes can only take in so many frames per second. And it's not, I'd said 20 something frames per minute, 20 something frames per second. So the eyes can only take in so much and process so much. And that's what, like, if you're doing slow motion, you need more frames. But if you're trying to get more light, you can actually reduce your frames per second, and it will actually increase the amount of light, or it should. But this camera, it did not. So going at 30 frames per second on 1080p actually did worse than doing 60 frames per second. So there is something in their computer settings there that's totally odd. Moreover, your settings 1080p versus 2.k or 2.7k versus 4k, all that. What that means is number of pixels in frame. So you got so many pixels on the x-axis, so many pixels on the y-axis, and then that gives you your image. So like the lower you go, the lower the resolution. Like for instance, right now I am using my 1080p computer camera, but it's being reduced down to about 720 because I have a virtual background. And so if I had a 4K camera, it would probably reduce it down to about 1080 because of all that. But if I was doing like my GoPro and I had it 4K, that algorithm has more data, so it can actually pull more light. It can pull things because there's more data points for it to actually work with. So going to lower resolution, or not lower resolution, but lower resolution is a good way of saying it, a lower setting, you shouldn't have a crisper, brighter, better image. That's not the way cameras are supposed to work, and yet they did. So I thought this was very interesting, something wonky about the settings, this HAFGYKIO VIRAN thing. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to skip all this stuff because you really don't need to see it. But I thought I'd show you what the dark part look like, and then we'll wrap this up. I can't hardly see anything. I can see grass and trees and stuff, but that's about it. I'm not thinking that if I took this out night fishing I'd be able to see too much, and it doesn't seem to have a night vision feature that I can use, which I wasn't expecting that, but it would have been a nice feature, you know, considering that it has so few features. If they offered that, it might be worth some of the money that they're wanting for it. So after I process this film, I'm not going to try to stay out anymore. But after I process this film, I'll do my final take on things. But I did want to show you the parking lot. So this is the parking lot. Not seeing much color balancing. The auto is giving me, at least on the screen, it looks a lot better than what I'm seeing. It seems a lot brighter, but a lot of the contrast seems to be lost. So I can see some things, but the sky is brighter, but the foreground is darker. I hope it doesn't show this on the finished video when I go to editing, but we'll find out. Anyway, I'm about to wrap this up and we'll do our final closing comments. Yeah, that was also really odd. So the sky, what I was looking at, the sky was like really, really dark. And so with my own eyes, not my little frame thing on the computer, or, you know, computer screen of the camera, my eyes, I was seeing a dark sky. And then the foreground, it was well lit up, a lot of detail. You could really see that. And I was hoping that's what the camera would pick up. Instead, what the camera focused on was the background. And so you could actually see stars and the moon and the clouds, and it looked like it was a good hour earlier than what it really was. Which is funny because just a few moments before, I was looking in that was facing north, facing south. It looked a few hours later than what it really was. So that background, it really didn't want to pick it up on that auto. That auto feature was really weird. I tried a setting that was supposed to be a overcast setting, and that was just a nightmare. But when you looked at the north side, yeah, it was gorgeous. The actual clouds and all that, that was gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. And then you see the foreground and it was garbage. There was no definition, not well lit. You couldn't see much of anything. It was really a letdown. So that was a really big issue for me, because if I'm in a boat and I'm night fishing, I'm doing catfishing videos, I don't want to see a beautiful sky and you not be able to see me. I want you to be able to see me and the catfish that I have or whatever I'm catching, the limb lines, things of that nature. And it was not picking that up. It was also kind of darkening the light. And that's the thing with GoPro I've noticed in the past, looking at other people's videos, is that GoPro over enhances the yellow and orange, and that it kind of brightens up greens and blues to make bluesy almost white. And if you got almost all green light, it'll sometimes make it almost white, unless you got some other type of color filtration coming in. Sorry about that. That was my wife called me, let me know that she was coming home. One of the issues about having a home studio is that uh, dogs barking, spouses calling, you never get proper sound, never get proper taping ever. So I've learned to be over that. Even for y'all, for the paid stuff, you get the same thing that the regular YouTube audience gets, all the interruptions and everything. But what I was saying is that GoPro has the ability to over enhance the orange and yellows of light, and that's really bad for nighttime fishing. But then the greens and blues that over enhances and overcorrects to be white. I wanted to see what this VIRAN did, because it seemed like they was really trying to knock off GoPro as much as they could. But when it came to the editing, the algorithm that they're using, their software program, it just wasn't there. It's so many generations behind GoPro that it there's no comparison. The yellow orange, it made it into a brown and made it indistinguishable. Used a lot of black for shadowing and focused way too much on the actual background. Background did a very good job, but I wish that it had picked up on the foreground and put that much effort into it. I would have gave it a higher rating, not that much higher because it was a junk camera, but still. So let's see what we got. We'll finish up the video.
All right, it is now 8:30 Central Standard Time. I am leaving the boat ramp. The night fishermen are showing up, and the drunks have left, thank God. So I'm gonna let night fishermen have it.
I want you to look at this footage. This is actually from my cell phone, and so I just wanted you to see, really and truly, even with a Samsung, and I mean, I don't have top of the line Samsung Android smartphone, but I have a pretty good one. And even that, with the three cameras, and it's supposed to have all the nighttime editing stuff, you can see this is pretty much garbage.
I will say that small bit of recording at 4K, it caused that camera to get super hot to my hands. It should not be getting that hot, which means it would be overheating if I took it out in the field. That's troubling and problematic. So another issue I just wanted to log before we do the final talks.
Yeah, that was a huge issue there. The camera was so hot, it was almost about, I thought it was gonna melt the case. Uh it was that bad, and it was just super, super, super hot. And it was like that, it was that night filming, that little segment where you got really crappy footage. I'd done maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes of filming, and it was about to burn out on me. So that was something I wanted to put there. But anyway, I'm going to stop the video here. I hope that you've enjoyed this. Please tell me what you think about these director's cuts. I'd love to hear your input, and I will see you again next time. Bye.